last year, was there one specific problem that was the defense's most glaring inconsistency?
I think it was that what you said, the inconsistency of doing things right all the time. A play here, a play there, a guy jump out his gap, know his responsibility, but trying to make a play. And I think that cost us. And I think, towards the end of the season, just going back, with our guys watching more together, trying to explain to the guys the big picture. Like, what do the pitches supposed to look like? And I thought they did a decent job of that as we start to address it more. And I think moving forward, that's what we'll do more of, just meet more as a unit, front seven, and just kind of, this is why you have to stay in your gap. And that's what we've been doing this spring.
You say big picture. What do you mean by that? Like, is there a certain number of points that you don't want to give up, a certain number of yards? How's that defined?
Yeah, I normally don't want to give up any points, but that's a little difficult in our lead. But we have our goals. We want to keep our opponent under 17 points if we can. We hadn't had a total amount of yards. It's probably per attempt more than anything, per pass attempt, 5.5, and per run attempt somewhere lower than that, 2.5, 2.8 or something like that. But, that's kind of been our goal. But, big picture-wise of just doing your job, I think that's the most important thing that as a unit we need to do. Stay in your gap, know your responsibility, and do that. And when the ball is not coming in your gap and it's all the way gone from your gap, then you can start to play football.
With Covey and Javon moving on, how much have Rick and Zach kind of stepped up in the middle of that line, and what does it mean to have a guy like Kier sort of in that mix as well?
Well, I'll tell you this, Javon is a great player, and Kobe was a very, very solid football player for us for 4 years. And it's going to be hard to replace those guys. To answer your question, Zach and Rick, yes, we're putting a big responsibility on them to do that, but we've only been in practice for 2 days. It's hard to play defensive line without pads on, to really see what a guy's doing. But those guys are doing well, and they understand, for us to do what we need to do in this conference, they have to play well up front. And obviously with the addition of Kier coming back, that really helps us because that's gives a guy who done played multiple spots on the D-line and a guy that has leadership abilities, and he's doing a really good job of doing that. And just getting a new coach in there, Coach Rocker. I think he's doing a great job with those guys. He's tough on them, but it's love, and they know that, and they're responding in the right way.
Is Zach better inside or outside in your view?
I would hope he's better inside. We need him to play inside. We need him to be really good inside. Zach's over 300 pounds now. So he's going to play inside for us, and he'll play, 3 technique. He'll play some shade. He'll play some different things on the front. And, he's able to do that because he's a very physical and athletic guy, and he got to continue to learn the scheme and continue to learn how we want to play.
How much does having a guy like Javon with all his success and about to be a top pick in the NFL draft influence a guy like Zach to say, this is what you could be?
I hope a lot, and that's the one thing, as a defense, we've been showing a lot of clips of Javon playing, and the good thing is when you come in and you got good players in front of you, you know what it's supposed to look like. A lot of times when you're a young player, you don't know what it looks like. You don't know what good is. And he was able to see good firsthand, see how he practiced, see how he worked, see how he carried himself in the building, outside the building, and all those things was very good. So he set a positive example for him, and we're excited about it, and I believe that Zach's seen the way, and it's up to him now to do it.
T-Rob, I know it's early on, but in a perfect world, how would you want this defense from an identity standpoint? Just not just this year, but just the way you guys want them to play.
A blue collar mentality. I want our guys to be physical. I want our guys to be able to stop the run first, force them to be one-dimensional and throw the football. And then we need to do a better job of turnovers. You look at our first couple of years, it was 28, 27, and then you look at the drop-off over the next 2 years, it was 17, 16, something like that. You're talking about 10 turnovers. That's 10 extra possessions for our offense. So that's a big emphasis right now. We need to get the football better. We've been getting it good, and we got to continue to do that.
Travaris, from a rules evolution of the rules standpoint, the offense has gained a lot of ground in the last 10 years or whatever. How do you handle that as a defensive coach? Do y'all squawk and say we need some help rules-wise, or do you just have to live with a new reality?
Hey, that ain't changing. Just some different things. You just look at, for instance, probably the biggest one is the RPO. Back when I played, you looked at the guard when I was a safety. And that's what my coach always taught me. You look at the guard right now, you come running out of the middle of the field, it'll be a touchdown. Because of the RPOs and those guys get down the field.
Forgive my ignorance, but explain that to me. You're the safety. 10 years ago, you saw the guard.
I saw the guard, and I was able to see run or pass off the uncovered lineman. All right, so if he passed that, I knew it was pass. I was pedaling in the middle of the field. If he was coming off the line of scrimmage, I was getting in the run game. Well, now you can't teach your safety to do that because, every run looks like a pass and every pass looks like a run. And it's just it's crazy, how the game done changed, and that ain't changing anytime soon. We got to understand that in zone defense, that's going to pull those Mike and Will linebackers out of the middle of the field, and we got to squeeze the slants with the flat players. Normally, you never had to do that. But I know that's not changing, and we have to adapt to it, and we have to adapt to the targeting rules. We got to adapt to all that, and it's for the safety of the game as well. So we got to continue to do a better job of doing it, and we got to do a better job of coaching it.
But if I gave you a magic wand and said you can change one rule to make defensive life easier, what would it be?
Tell me when they're gonna run it and tell me when they're gonna throw it. No, I wouldn't say it's one thing.
Linemen downfield,
Yeah, that probably, if I would say one thing, maybe change the RPOs, but then that'll kill our offense. So it's probably not good either.
T-Rob, you mentioned when you play safety, a lot of the people concentrate on your effectiveness as number of interceptions, passes broken up, tackles. But is it also kind of a compliment if you don't have any of those numbers because it means people aren't throwing at you?
Yeah, and I see where you're getting to. You're probably asking about JC.
Yeah.
His lack of interceptions and things like that, and it's frustrating to him. Like I tell him all the time, if you just look at the tape and you look at the targets when people throwing the football to him, there's not a lot of catches on him.
Right.
He got to continue to do that, and his chance to come. He had opportunities this season, and he didn't make them. So the easy ones he got to make, and he'll get the stats and the numbers that he's looking for. But yes, he's a good football player. He plays the right way, and we want more guys like him on our football team.
How did you instruct him about that, especially after the Georgia game when Muck gets 3 picks by himself?
Yep.
And it's like, well, they kept throwing to his side
Yeah.
and not yours.
Well, you know what? Hey, it's part of being a good player, And like I told him, the one time they do throw it to him, he got to make the play. And he got to always stay ready, and that's just part of being a corner. But, I know in the social media age and, all the stuff going on and people talking, and he get a little frustrated that he hadn't got the ball off anyone yet. But his time is coming, and when he need it and we need it, hopefully it'll be his turn and he'll get one.
Early on, what have Dominic and O'Donnell kind of been able to show you? Obviously, only a few practices. What have you seen kind of from their transition to the college game?
Very, very impressed with Dominic first. Dominic, I came in, I thought he would be a corner. We moved him to safety, and he's been doing really good with it. He has to gain weight, obviously. He's a little guy, but he's a smart and he's very instinctive. And he got a chance to be a good football player at some point. I'm excited about his progress. He's coming in, he's meeting extra, he's doing all the stuff that it takes to be a good player. And then Dominic, he started off slow, but the last couple of days he's been a lot better, and he's playing him outside at corner. He has some good guys in front of him to actually see how they do things, how they go about their business, and he's doing a good job of following those guys. So he just got to continue to come. But it's difficult when anytime you come from high school and you come into college and you have good players in front of you, and you thought you was going to come in and you was going to do this and that, and you say, hey man, this guy in front of me pretty good, and he got to do a good job of just continue to work on his craft and work on one thing one day at a time.
Do you expect Israel to play safety or cornerback this year?
I expect Izzy to play wherever we need him to. Izzy is a really good player. He can play multiple spots. In this spring, we're playing him at both spots. We're playing him outside at corner. We're playing him at nickel. And that's going to depend on if Cam or John come along, and those guys doing a good job of starting to do that. But we need more out of those guys, and we challenge those guys as a defense, that we need one of those guys to step up and really do some things that we were able to have the versatility to move Izzy to safety, to move Jamie to nickel, and do some different things like that.
How have those guys done, Cam and John?
Good. They've really done a good job. Actually, Cam, he got a couple of things that he's working on, just, with his hands and stuff like that. But he's doing a good job. He's a very quick and fast guy. He gained some weight during the offseason. So we're excited about that. And John is a really good player. We playing him inside at nickel some, and we playing him outside at corner. And we just got to kind of figure out exactly where he's going to play. But both of those guys are doing a good job, and they're accepting the challenge.
Is it an advantage or a disadvantage to have a lot of height at the safety position, like if Muck is 6'4" back there?
It's always an advantage to be big and tall. But, with him, he has instincts. And I think more than anything else, being his size and all that, he has great instincts, and he's a ball hawk. He can find the football. So he'll be able to affect more plays if he's playing at safety. But, he plays corner. He plays corner well, and he got to continue to work on his technique at corner. It's crazy when you look at his point of attack tapes for this season, the plays that he gave up, it started on the line of scrimmage. And those one of the things that he's done a good job of working on, as we went through these first 4 days of practice.
With TJ and Javon gone, who do you see emerging as leaders of the defense?
Ernest is a guy who's going to be a leader of our football team. Obviously, you look at the guys that done played a lot of football. You look at J.C. Horn. You look at Israel. Some of those guys have been leading. And then Kier. All right, so it'd probably be those 4 guys that'll do that for our team.
What is kind of the mix at that weak side linebacker spot trying to replace TJ?
Yeah, well, we're doing it a little different. So you look at our, how we're playing right now. Ernest Jones is playing at the mic. You look at Sherrod with a combination of Damani Staley playing at the wheel, and then whoever's not at the wheel playing at the Sam. Doing all those things like that, just trying to get those guys to be able to be versatile and play teams. We played more regular last year than we ever played with a Sam on the field. I want to say it was almost 29 to 30% of the time we played regular, and that's a lot different than what we've been in the past, and it'll probably be a little more this year. So we just got to figure out who's going to be the Sam, who's going to be the Will. But, Damani did a good job. So the first week we did it with Sherrod and let him play some Sam and let him play some Will, and then this week we'll do it with Damani.
You get Jalen Dickerson back. Where does he fit?
He fits well. Jalen is a guy who's been really, really good. When you look at spring, you look at fall, and he's just been an injury-prone guy. And we hadn't had him much. And so I'm excited to have him back on the field. He's a physical dude. He knows what to do. And he got to continue to just, get the game reps and, all the different things like that he needs to see. But Jalen is a huge addition, and we needed him. We needed him last year, but he's thankful he's here now.
Is he strictly at safety?
Yeah, Jalen's a strictly safety. He won't play any other things in the secondary.
Playing more regular, was that a function of your personnel or what you saw from offenses?
Both. I think, you look at our first 2 years, we were hurt on the perimeter plays, outside, bubbles, screens, quick screens, things like that. People are getting the ball out fast, and then sometimes we get outmatched when they put the tight end to the field and they block our nickel pretty good. He's a DB, he's a littler guy. So now, we play with a Sam, we play with a Damani, we play with, guys like that, a Jamar Brown. We can set an edge of a defense and be able to do some of the different things that we're doing.
So you run a little off this topic, but just curious, there are a couple players out there today that have these yellow patches on their jersey, on their sleeves. I don't know if you know what that means by any chance.
No idea.
I didn't know if that's the new thing.
Yeah.
You guys are using that if someone's maybe a little, injured or not. Just curious.
No idea.
Okay.
Zero idea.
Is 17 points realistic in today's as a goal?
I think it's tough. I think 20 probably be more realistic. But yeah, 17 that's some really good defense to stop some people at this point. 17, so 20 will probably be more realistic, and that's something that we'll look at go through the offseason.
As a defensive coordinator, how much of a luxury is it to have sort of the four returning starting defensive backs that you guys have, not only for the fact they're experienced and you trust them, but the fact that they can all play, I think, at least each two positions?
Yeah, that's a huge luxury. And that's how we play here. When a guy come here, he signed here to play corner. He's going to play multiple positions. He's going to play nickel. He's going to play corner. If he comes to safety, he's going to play some dime. He's going to play some safety. So you just look at him. You look at RJ. He plays dime. He plays safety. You look at Jamie Robinson. He plays safety. He plays nickel. You look at JC. He started his freshman year as a nickel. Didn't play any corner, and then he played all corner last year. So Izzy, you look at him, he played safety in the game as a freshman, and he played a little bit of safety last year. So when you start looking at that, we want our guys to be versatile. Those guys play defensive back, so anything in the backfield, and we meet together as a defensive back unit. We don't meet corners and safeties separate. We meet together, so they should know what each other's doing, and it helps that, you put it on those guys to learn everything.
What are your impressions of Mike and the way he runs an offense?
He's really good. He does a really good job. He gives you multiple looks, different personnel groupings, different tempos. It's been very exciting to coach against him. He does some really nice things. We do a bunch of move the ball periods where it's not scripted. We're calling it and like a game day, first, second, third down, whatever it is, we're playing it out. So we're playing actually more football. So he's getting a chance to call it and come off the cuff that way, and he's doing a really good job of changing it up and being multiple.
What's it been like bringing a couple new defensive coaches in, and Coach Rocker and Coach Wilson?
It's been good. The first thing that I would say, it makes me go back and kind of look at what we're doing. And is it too much? Is it enough? Getting some different ideas, different perspectives, what they did with other places that they had been. So I thought that was good. And then it gives us a chance to just, again, simplify some things. Like, hey, why did y'all call it that? Someone questioned that when we just called it this because we've been calling that for the last 4 years. Well, hey, why do you call it that? Wouldn't it be simple if we called it this? You know what I mean? So I had to be flexible, and Coach Muschamp and myself had to be flexible on how we call certain things. And I think we did a good job of simplifying some of the terms. But it's been really good. I think those guys they fit in well to what we're trying to do. They're blue-collar guys, and we need that on our football team. So I'm excited about those guys. I don't think we could have hired any two other better guys than those guys.
Are you working with punt returners?
Me and B-Mac, so we'll do that together. Right now, we look at Shy, we look at Josh Van, we look at J.C. Horn. JC got to do a better job. He went in the last couple ball games, didn't make any catches on it. He just didn't practice it enough to feel comfortable doing it. But, he's getting all the reps of doing it, and he'll be ready to rock in that. And we're going to put that on him, and he's more than capable of doing it.
I give you one perfect player. Is that a defensive tackle, a middle linebacker, a safety? Where do you want? Where is it most important that you have a guy who is
The best player, if I had to have the best player, I would say defensive tackle.
Yeah.
And then the next one I would say corner. And then I would say the smartest player I need to play linebacker, not per se the best.
What are the challenges of being kind of that strong side linebacker where you have a guy that's got to be able to work in space, but as you said, sort of chase down screens and set edges?
Athletic. They have to be athletic, because there's a bunch of space plays out there. A lot of teams running perimeter screens, getting the ball on the edge. They got to be a great decision maker. They got to set edges of the defense, and they got to be big. Some of these tight ends, you're looking at 240, 250, 260, that they got to strike and get off blocks and maintain leverage. So they have to be athletic. They have to have good size. It's not a lot of learning out there. There ain't much you can do. You either take 2 to the flat or 3 to the flat. I tell them every day they shouldn't make any mistakes.
Jordan Burch, obviously in here yet, but what's he going to bring to you guys when he gets in there?
I don't know. I will say this. He's a talented young man. Don't know exactly where he fits. He'll play our buck position for us, but he has tremendous pass rush. He can drop when we need him to drop, and we need someone that can get to the quarterback. And we're going to put it on him to do it, but excited about him and can't wait till we get here.
What about Joey Hunter to be determined where he's going to be?
Yeah, right now, looking at him at corner. But when he comes in, again, all those guys that come in, they got to play multiple positions if they're able to handle it. Some guys can't handle it at first. So the first year, you just play him at one position. And then as the years progress, then you put him at some other positions. So if he can handle 2 positions, he'll play corner and safety. If he only can handle 1, then he'll play corner.
With DJ Wanham going now, who all is working in at your book right now?
Yeah, so right now you look at Brad. You look at Hot Rod. And those probably the 2 guys right now in spring ball that we have that's able to do that.
Is Joe Anderson working there at all? Or
He plays more the strong end. He don't play the buck. We don't want Big Joe standing up covering anybody to the flat right now. But he'll play the strong side end for us.